Welcome along to another video on F1 Union, where today we are here for round 5 of the season. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix, and like always we're heading out for qualifying to begin our first run of 3. And heading into this qualifying session, I actually felt pretty confident that we could definitely close the gap, as the gap to pole has been around 4/10 so far this season, pretty much every session apart from one, which was 6. So we definitely need to close the gap, and I feel like this track can be a great place to do that, as all throughout practice I felt pretty confident with the car and the setup. But we're beginning our first run then. Heavy braking zone down into turn 1, flick it right in gear 2, on the power as soon as possible. We're in none to maximise our traction and exit, and now put the boost back on, down to about 60%, back into none, into turn 4, wait for the power as soon as possible on the exit and get on with a bit more battery to finish the first sector split. Dive it right, dive it left. It's not really that flat anymore like with the old cars, but we carry on through into the hairpin of turn 8 on the power. Little bit of battery to help us out, back into medium, then into none for this tight downhill awkward turn 10, which we haven't exactly got right. But we carry on as it's only just a banker. Battery off as we're halfway done with the straight. Medium for the rest. Back into none. As you can see, we've got some traffic coming up ahead of us as we put the battery on the exit of 11 into 12 and 13. The Audi gets well and clear out the way. Second sector split done. Our teammate just ahead is going to decide to give us a little bit of a helpful hand here of slipstream. Roughly a half a tenth or so. He moves out of the way last second. We brake last corner, not quite the way we wanted to do it. We kind of slide a bit, and we'll come across the line then out of battery, and our banker will be a 27.6, which just puts us P4 for now. But we're going again on our second run, and I know there's definitely quite a bit of time to find a few little kinks to work out in some of the corners. So we're gearing up then for our second run, as battery on when the second white line appears, down to 70% blasting, and this time around hopefully we don't get a bit distracted by the traffic by the end. So into turn 1 then, taking a nicer line than the first opportunity as we're nearly a tenth up. We lose some time on the exit though, but we carry on around 600ths up. Battery off at 60, and once again into turn 4, trying to absolutely send it, but being as careful as possible on the exit, and we've managed to be about a tenth up coming the end of sector 1. Dive it right and left, but we've missed our initial turn in there slightly, and heading into this hairpin, little bit of an eyesore there for the Haas in our way slightly. No impeding by any sort of means, but still it was kind of annoying as we've lost our whole tenth. But heading into turn 10, turning much earlier on the power, we found our 10th back again. With the straight mode we can blast our battery a bit lower than what it was on the previous run, but we carry on up, and we know we can find a bit more time. The only bit we're a bit unsure is the straight, where we're going to lose a bit of time because of the slipstream we got given. So middle sector split, nearly a tenth and a half up, diving it into the penultimate corner on the exit, on the power, found some time, but like I said, that time will be diminishing slightly. A tenth and a half goes to a tenth, so it was roughly half a tenth. But this last corner we know there is some time as we bounce over the inside curb and find our half a tenth or even more back as we cross the line. Then we're currently 4th, we cross the line, it's 3rd, 76 thousandths off P1, so that 4/10 margin we've been off all season has certainly closed. And actually we were level with Fire for P2, so we've set the exact same time, and we're only 3/4 of a tenth off Venaris, who's taken pole in every race so far this season. So last run, it's time to give it absolutely everything. I knew my first sector was good, so I even told my teammate at the time, if I'm down by the end of sector 1, I'm not even too bothered by it, as we touched the inside curb there, which isn't great, and we are down by about a tenth. So I don't hate these kind of laps where we're down in the first, because then you know you can just give it absolutely everything for the rest, as on the exit we are still down by that tenth. So now it's time to push it to 100, and obviously our time will be improved at the hairpin because there's no one around us this time. We dive it in and get on the power very nicely indeed to be up by 1/10 of a second, which right now would put us on provisional pole if Benares or Fire didn't improve. Into turn 10 then, and on the power we've lost a slight bit of time, but we're still up by nearly 1/10 of a second. There's a red dot about to cross the line. That is Benares as we head into turn 11, and Benares has improved to a 0.125. So we'd need to improve by about 2/10 or so, but we're only up by 1, heading into the middle set to split. We're lacking 44 thousandths to Benares as we exit the penultimate corner 10th up. And this time round, we've actually used a bit more battery, so we are going to run out slightly at the end, but our best qualifying this season has been 4th. We are currently 3rd. Can we challenge for this front row?
It's been a nice lap, but I'm going to lose some at the end. Come on! Come on!
Oh, what? Yeah, very good. Very good lap.
So there we go. We are on the front row for the first time this season, getting within under 1/10.5 of Benares. So we've definitely closed that gap to the front, and we're taking the fight to them as that's everyone done with qualifying. So yeah, first front row of the season. Very happy with the laps. They're all improved upon one by one. And for the second week in a row, my best run in practice when it comes to my final run in qualifying, I'm 1,000th off. It was the same in Miami, it was the same in Bahrain, so I know I'm getting the maximum out. However, refined, was there 143 thousandths? Maybe, but for now we're happy with the progress and we're going to focus on the race coming up next.
Alright, good luck, mate.
Yeah, good luck. I want to see that Mercedes coloured car at the front, turn 1.
Yeah.
And I would get a black screen.
So here we go then, the 5 lights are coming on for the Bahrain Grand Prix, round 5 of the season. What can we do from P2? Lights out, and Benares looks like he's got a pretty decent getaway. We haven't really, because Fire and Tasos are already to our right as we dive into turn 1. Fire and Tasos have had a bit of a moment. We're going to run a bit wide just in case one of them runs into us, as now we're compromised. Fire cuts us off, and that's going to allow Frankie out of nowhere to barge his way through into P3. We've gone from 2nd to 4th, and now we're trying to hope we don't lose any more positions as Dan is right behind us.
Pretty much turned in on me like I wasn't even there. I had to back out.
Yeah, not happy with at the time Fire cutting us off a little like that, as obviously Frankie, the sky opened up to take P3. Benares got the good getaway, and we are now on a slight bit of a back foot and have to try and regain these places to get back on to a net podium. But yeah, as for turn 1, or even before turn 1, the incident with Tasos and Fire, looking back at it after the race, it was just Tasos kind of going into Fire and spinning off him, which I mean, Fire did pretty well, not only to get away with that, but also get the move on me. And then, as for now, you can see all medium runners around us. There was one person who started on the hards, and it was JJ, who has dropped a few positions. But we know hard medium for a lot of racers usually comes back at the end to be pretty good, so we'll have to keep an eye out for him. But yeah, we're ending lap 1 then. Not blasted too much of our battery, and we haven't underfueled by too much. We're just keeping it kind of safe. But for now, we start lap 2, Fire keeping over to the left, Benares and Frankie going to the right, and we're not really under too much threat from Dan. So as we cut to the end of the lap, starting lap 3, we're putting Frankie under pressure because you can see Fire and Benares are pulling away. So we're going to try and get Frankie, who might not have blue mode now. We're going to blast all our battery in a bid to get past him in the slipstream. He gives us a little wiggle, showing that he's not going to fight this, so we're going to zoom past him, and we're back up into 3rd, onto the podium places. And now it's our job now to see if we can close within a second and get that blue mode back, as we're cutting to the next lap, and you can see the gap is 1.1 seconds. We are pushing because we're very low on battery to try and get this blue mode, but they are just outside our reach, and we get our first warning of the race as well for good measure to show that we're pushing. But on this lap it's not going to be enough, as there is the blue mode detection point, and we are outside of a second of Benares, who actually got overtaken by Fire in that lap. He just simply got past him as we're out of battery, so we're just going to check behind to see Frankie doesn't pull any sort of move on us. And throughout the first stint, in the first 10 or so laps, there actually were a few times on the start finish straight that maybe he could have tried to get back past us, but for now he bided his time, as we are going to cut to lap 10 quite a few laps later. Nothing really happen. Everything kind of stayed the same. Fire and Venaris did pull away, and then we started to close them back, so the gap kind of stayed the same throughout the whole time. Frankie still kept with us. Dan, though, lost some time. He was struggling in turn 1 and 2 a lot, he said after the race. But yeah, we've tried all we can to try and get within that 1 second, but now we're just having to watch our back with Frankie. But the pit stops are going to be starting soon. As you can see, Venaris, dummies, maybe fire into the pits there, but to no avail. And yeah, we knew that they were going to be pitting soon, and we always like to maybe pit a bit earlier, get a good undercut. So I always thought 11 onto 12, if they don't pit, we're going to pit. So Fire and Venaris stay out. We're going to follow in to our one-stop strategy, and Frankie follows us as well to put the hard compound tyres on. As this is, of course, a bid to try and undercut them, or at least close the gap to them. James, while that was all happening, has fired up his hard compound tyres as well, and is starting to make some good progress.
Yeah, looks like James brought someone with him. I don't know, Logan, I guess.
As we now exit the pit lane, and we'll move over to the left to try and maximise our outlap, to try and see how much we can gain on Fire and Venaris. You'd expect one of them to be in, and they are on the mini-map. So we're pushing, but as you can see, we have hit the harvest limit, and we actually haven't saved round that last corner.
I think I had it in the wrong fucking mode.
And at the time, I thought I put it in the wrong mode, like hot lap or something, but no, it's simply, it wouldn't allow us to save because we'd reached our maximum. So exiting the pit lane is Fire just in front of us. We haven't obviously undercut him, but we've closed the gap to him, and obviously in hindsight, we know he's going to run out of battery 2 with the harvest mode in the last corner. So it doesn't even matter if we're out of battery, we're at least going to save when he isn't, and he's going to also pay the price of what we did. Obviously at the time I either just forgot or didn't understand it, but as you can see, we're on 0% now as we're saving into this last corner, but Fire won't be, so his red light will continue to flash. We're going to blast our battery, and in a bid to get past Fire, who's on 1 lap fresher tyres than us, Venaris will exit the pit on 2 lap fresher tyres than us. We're going to fly past Fire on the left, we're going to fly past Venaris on the right, and at the moment, we're in the net lead. Fire looks to the inside to try and get us back, but we're going to hold him off for now. James still out there on his hards that he started the race on, so as soon as he makes his pit stop, we are in the net race lead. And unlike last week when we overtook both Fire and Venaris when they were squabbling, when we immediately spun and threw it all away, this time round we're ahead of both of them, and now we can try and control our race and do the best we can to keep them at bay. But it's not going to be easy because obviously on level tyres, on the mediums in the first stint, they had the pace over me slightly. So what do you think is going to happen when they have a tyre delta to me by 1 or 2 laps with Fire and Venaris breathing down our necks? We're not really going to be able to pull away from them, and we're just going to have to try our best to keep them behind as long as possible. Frankie's not a million miles off us either, and we're going to be closing the gap to James bit by bit before he makes his pit stop in a couple laps, but he is going to be very quick at the end on those mediums, and it'll be interesting to see how much ground he can make up. But for now, we're just trying to see how much battery we can save onto the start-finish straight and into turn 4, because we know Fire will be trying to get past us as soon as possible. We're going to have around 30%, and you save around 25, so we'll have about 55% on the exit here to blast. We've lost blue mode, that'll go to Fire, Venaris and Frankie behind, and now we blast everything as we start lap 15, just past the halfway mark, and we know the more we keep them behind, the better. As it looks like for this straight we've managed to survive any attack from Fire as we dive into turn 1, not going too deep, and once again on the exit blasting as soon as possible and moving over to the right to break any sort of toe, and we've held off Fire for at least this time round, but he's going to be getting closer and closer. And again, I'd say I'm not the greatest with battery management, but I was trying my best. But as we exit the penultimate corner at the end of the lap, we are going to be around about the same amount of battery, but Fire is much closer to us this time, so the slipstream will come into more of a helpful effect for him. We move right once again to try and break the toe, but he's right there with us in the slipstream, and here I was thinking, do I go really defensive? Do I let him go to the inside? Do we try a switch? I do allow the inside for him, but we are going to go for a switch back into turn 1 as he runs slightly deep. Now we set ourselves up on the exit of 2. We blast the rest of our battery, but Fire's got a good run still, and we're out of battery now, and Fire has gotten the move done. So in hindsight, it would have obviously been better to defend the inside, but I think either way, he was coming past us one way or another. It was more of a question of when, not if. And due to how fast he was, it's only just been done, the move, but already he's nearly breaking out of a second ahead of us, and we're trying to over push nearly just to keep within that 1 second gap. But as we start lap 17, fastest lap for him, we have managed to just keep within a second. And this time I've learnt my lesson, so I'll move a bit right to make sure Venaris doesn't have a little send on me into turn 1. But it is really tough to try and keep within a second of this guy. As you can see, Frankie's actually lost a couple seconds to us lot. So yeah, he's been lost by the train a little. And right now we're looking good for this podium, at least, as James will be in the pit soon. But what order will this podium be, as Fire's looking more and more set to beat me in this, so it's in my interest kind of to keep Venaris at bay for as much as possible. He is the championship leader after all. The less points he scores, the better for me, but we're out of battery and there's not really a lot we can do, and Venaris will just sail past, and that's really all we could try and do to defend. Now it's up to Fire and Venaris to sort this out, because we're just on the older tyres. We haven't really got exactly the same pace, and we're already saving enough fuel, so we're fine on that. They're pulling away, so we're just going to skip ahead a few laps. You can see Frankie is keeping around 3 seconds behind, and Fire just has to keep Venaris behind for the next 8 laps or so, and we'll see if he can stop Venaris from taking another victory. As yeah, nothing really happened in the last 7 laps or so for us. We kind of knew we were going to get third at this rate unless something happened up in front. So actually, for the final couple laps, remember James was on the mediums. He's making his way through the order, and he's going to be on the back of Frankie soon, and Tesos, who has a 10-second time penalty. So we're going to actually be looking at their battles for first and second, and for fourth and fifth. But first...
Nice.
I'd do everything.
Yeah, good shit.
So for these last 3 laps, I'm going to be showing you a few POVs from mainly James, Frankie and Fire. I don't have Venaris as POV, he doesn't stream, unlike the Cadillac, RB and Ferrari. But you can see James has just got past Tesos then, 3 laps to go, and he's on the back of Frankie with his medium compound tyres, blasting all his battery to try and get past the Cadillac. So diving into turn 1, Frankie will go defensive, and James will break deep and go around the outside of the Cadillac, who squeezes him out wide as much as possible. And on the exit, James is compromised and Frankie can get away. And we're going to see this from Frankie's POV now, as we're going to see that white arrow go red and go alongside, as Frankie's going to send it deep and have a great line now. And that was a great bit of defensive driving from the Cadillac, as James will try again. But a bit later on lap 27, we see Fire still holding Venaris at bay, but we see Venaris to the inside, takes the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix momentarily. Fire switchbacks the Audi and gets back in front of him, and now they're going to remain side by side up through turn 12 and 13. Venaris back in front to the inside as Fire lets him go. I'm guessing that was more of a tactic in terms of battery, but the crucial thing is Venaris now has the track position in P1 as we cut to the end of lap 27, back with Frankie and James, who's trying once again to get past the Cadillac. You can see there's 2 laps to go and he's still in the red with his fuel. He's blasting all his battery, has to go to the outside again. Frankie goes defensive this time round. He goes for a switchback on the Cadillac and he's got great momentum. He's got the power. He goes round the outside and the hand gesture as well to say give me some room. But that was a great bit of driving from James as we head into turn 4, and that isn't a great bit of driving from the RB. He goes very deep and all his hard work has come undone as Frankie goes back in front. And now we're going to see this once again from Frankie's POV. Sees the red arrow, parks his car where he needs to, runs deep, but this time round James has switchbacked him, goes fully around the outside, places his car perfectly. A little bit of tyre tagging, but that's all good in racing. Then Frankie puts him under pressure once again, then he goes deep and Frankie says thank you very much, I'll have P4 back.
See you fucking later, son.
So as we cut to the end of lap 28, we're about to head on to the final lap of the race as James trying to go around the outside, will now switch and force Frankie to be quite unsettled on the exit. Frankie actually loses the car, and they make slight contact there, and now it's going to be a drag as they start the final lap of the race, as we're going to see Frankie's POV of this, as he gets on the power, loses it slightly, and nearly gets sent into the wall with the contact with James, as a warning will appear right above him. But we're now going to see them side by side from James's POV, and now on the last lap, James has tried on 27, tried on 28. Now he's going to try on 29 once again, trying the switchback on the Cadillac. Will now set himself up on the exit with the battery. He's got better tyres at this very moment in time. They're barging wheels millimetres from one another. James round the outside. This time doesn't go too deep on the power. He's got the move done ahead of the Cadillac on the final lap of the race. And we're going to see this from Frankie's POV as well. And this was a great little battle between them. And it was much more exciting than anything that happened to me in the last 7 or so laps. As Frankie tried all he could, but those mediums still had enough life left in them, even on the last lap where you could argue the hards were better. So for James to go dancing around the outside of him and get the move done. Frankie tried all he could, but the RB has prevailed. As we're going to cut to fire on the last lap, he's still stuck behind Venaris, so he's running out of options. So at turn 10, he goes to the inside on the Audi and gets it stopped, leaves him just enough space on the curb, and Fire on the last lap then has retaken the lead away from Venaris, but it's not done yet. Venaris back round the outside as Fire cuts the inside of turn 11 and I think forces Venaris wide a little, but it doesn't matter. Fire, even if he wins this now, has lost because of that penalty, and he's low on battery, and you'd assume Venaris, because he's practically the best driver in the league right now, he's got him covered with the tyres and the battery. With one corner left of the race, Venaris back in front. Fire can do nothing to stop him at this moment in time. Venaris is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix, did everything right, and he deserves that win ahead of Fire, who drove as hard as he could. But we're just cutting back to James and Frankie about to cross the line, and you can see James pulling to the right and slowing down.
I ran out of fuel.
James ran out of fuel at the end. I mentioned that he was still in the red with a couple laps to go, and heading around the last corner, his car just wasn't going to work good enough to get him across the line with that little fuel remaining, and that cost him to Frankie. Luckily, Tesos had a 10, so after all that battle, James still lost to Frankie, unfortunately, even after getting ahead of him. As we're just cutting back a bit earlier to me to see my reaction, as Fire has got that 3-second time penalty, and unfortunately he was just a bit too far ahead of me for me to make any capitalisation on that. As you can see James and Frankie behind me about to have their swap right at the end. But yeah, we're coming around the final couple corners then. It's been a solid race overall. Started second, finished third, back-to-back podiums, and this one felt a lot better than Miami. Even though Miami could have been a win, it was a bit more of a right place, right time. This one, we had to fight for it and earn it. Ooh. And P3 at Bahrain.
P2.5.
Ooh, Frankie and James. Wait, is James out of fuel? Oh my god, James might have ran out of fuel.
Oh, you got lucky that the guy had a 10.
Just a bit. Oh well. P3. Another podium. It's nice, but if I can sum that up in a phrase, it would be like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Which is still an overall step forward, but
well, it might be Gandhi.
So yeah, that has been it then for the Bahrain Grand Prix, round 5 of the season. 5th, 4th, 3rd and 3rd so far. So the consistency's there. We're making good progress, and I think today this one was a very big step towards mainly Fire and Venaris, as they are the top 2 in the championship. And I think after this result, we moved to 3rd in the standings now, thanks to Tesos' time penalty. So the 2 people I want to beat obviously didn't beat, but that's a lot closer of a gap that I can live with compared to the first few races, which was nearly half a minute to Venaris. So it's not just me, we're all closing the gap to him bit by bit, Fire included. And this is the first night race of 3 in a row. Obviously next week will be Saudi and then Qatar the week after. Not feeling too confident for Saudi, but Qatar, maybe that can be a bit similar to Bahrain. But for now, yeah, it was a solid race. As we can see, that was what happened between Tassos and Fire at the start. And yeah, it was Tassos obviously admitted blame after he had a look at it. But obviously on our end, the start of our race didn't exactly go amazing, losing a couple places to Fire and Frankie. But I think overall race pace wasn't too bad. I think we were just lacking a tenth or two here on Fire and Venaris per lap. But obviously we've still made a good step in the right direction to take the fight to them. Obviously we're now a quarter of the season done, 15 races to go. That is still a lot, but at the same time it isn't. We've every race is obviously very important and crucial in the bid for the championship and whatnot. But Venaris, he keeps extending the gap now, so we definitely need to try and keep taking the fight to him. Not just me, obviously everyone else is going to be closing in on him as well. I think the gaps will be getting closer and closer as the season carries on, and by the end it could be a flip of a coin, thousandths that decide who wins and loses. So it's going to be interesting to see, and right now we're at least keeping consistent in what is a very different season and time compared to what we were doing a few months ago with the 25 cars. We're all still getting kind of used to it, but I think we're getting more into a rhythm now of what exactly to do. And it's obviously every race is going to be a bit more of a learning curve. We are yet to do every one of these tracks with these cars, so it could be completely different one week. We could be very confident like this one, and have a good result. But like I said, with Saudi next week, that's I mean, I'm not the greatest with battery, like I said earlier, and Saudi is definitely, I'd put in my top 5 for battery draining over one lap or just in general. But for now, that has been Bahrain, and we'll see how Saudi goes in a week's time. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video at Jeddah.